Welcome to Film Strip, movie reviews presented by Continuous Play Podcast. These podcasts are spoiler-filled as we discuss the plots, characters, and themes of the films in review. All content used or discussed in these podcast episodes is the property of the respective owners and used under the Fair Use Act, Section 504, C2, Title 17.
Welcome to Film Strip. I'm Jay.
I'm Nick.
And this is our review of Congo, starring Laura Linney, Dylan Walsh, Ernie Hudson, Tim Curry, Grant Heslov, and Joe Don Baker. Based on the novel by Michael Crichton, directed by Frank Marshall, released in 1995 on a budget of $50 million, grossed $152 million at the box office. So not a box office dud like Relic was, but also of note nominated for several Razzies, which I'm sure we will get into, because, yeah, Congo. You know, first off, I watched the wrong thing. I watched some Harry Belafonte shit, so I watched Congo. I didn't realize this was a monkey movie. So we're in trouble. But seriously, okay, I knew this was a Crichton property, and it goes into our kind of loose fit retrospective here of 90s monster trash, if you will. But have you ever read the book?
I have not.
Neither have I. So I have, unlike last time, I have no point of reference for the book. So if anybody's listening and you can tell us about the book, Facebook it or tweet at us about it, because we otherwise don't know.
Yeah, I'm not a big Michael Crichton fan per se. Read Jurassic Park. It's a good book, but also read The Lost World. It's not a good book, and that's basically where my Michael Crichton knowledge ends. So I guess maybe I'm not in the right to say whether he's a good author or not. But The Lost World just left such a bad taste in my mouth that I never decided to pick up his other works like The Andromeda Strain. I think Sphere was another one of his. Eaters of Man, I believe, was another one, which was also made into another movie. The one with Antonio Banderas. What was that called? 13th Warrior.
Yeah, 13th Warrior. Yeah, I've never read it, but I've seen Timeline with Paul Walker about the history students that go back to fight the French Napoleonic War or something like that. So it's
and then I think he also was a big part of ER. When that was
yes,
there,
yeah, he was one of the creators of ER and a big driver behind that. I mean, Crichton's known for these scientific based books. Like there's some bit of science fact because he, of course, was a medical doctor and a scientist and a researcher. And I remember the few books of his I've read. This wasn't one of them. I have read Sphere and Jurassic Park and Prey, and I think I read part of Timeline and Airframe, but those are the other ones. But they always come with like an appendix or a foreword that's like a science paper that you have to read to sort of understand this is the thing I'm basing this on, and now we're going to be MacGuffining it, and that's what he uses. And some of that is useful, like in Jurassic Park, all the genetic sequencing stuff is good to know because it teaches you something, and you're like, oh, now you can buy it a little bit more. But sometimes it's a little much. And let's say I didn't read the book on Congo, but I did see this movie when it came out in theaters, strictly on the walk up to the thing and go, that looks fun. Michael Crichton, that's Jurassic Park. And I walked in the theater.
Yeah, this was heavily marketed as being the author of Jurassic Park. And I saw a special sneak screening of this movie when I was a kid. Me and my dad went. We used to be part of some like critics club thing. Neither one of us were critics, obviously, but still not. But we used to get these movie passes all the time. Like I remember seeing like Titanic like 3 weeks before that came out. Saw Congo, a few other ones. One of the worst ones I ever saw, which was probably the best Quentin Tarantino movie that he's ever done, was actually It's Pat.
I will say this. I saw Congo, and like I said, I walked out of the theater, and I just thought, I didn't like it then, and I have not seen it again until this retrospective. And I watched it twice for this so that I could feel like I got it
nice.
All.
And I loved it when I saw it as a kid. I absolutely loved this movie. I used to kind of do like reenactments with my G.I. Joe figures. Because you got to remember, I was like, what year did this come out? 95. So I was
95.
I was like 11 years old. So
you know what? I think if I had been 11, I would have dug it too, but because I could see the 11-year-old me doing that with G.I. Joe and Star Wars figures. But I was 18, and I was like, oh wow, what a hard piece of crap, And it did not hit my sweet spot.
But we'll get into it. But I think this movie is extremely watchable. So, but why don't we get into the plot summary? So why don't you hit us up with that?
Yeah, I'll see if I can do this. I'll make this one kind of short, okay? Scientist and former CIA operative Karen Ross, played by Laura Linney, is sent by her employer, Joe Don Baker, to the Congo in order to find the whereabouts of his son's missing diamond hunting expedition. Son played in a hilarious cameo by Bruce Campbell. Led by an expert guide, Monroe Kelly, better known as the Black Ghostbuster, Winston, Ernie Hudson, Ross and a search party including primatologist Dr. Peter Elliott, a treasure hunter named Homolka, played by everyone's favorite transvestite, Tim Curry, and a gorilla, Amy, played by people nominated for Razzies, who can communicate through sign language, encounter a dangerous pack of gray gorillas in the heart of the jungle. Eventually, they find the diamond mine, and the pack kills Molka. While Amy holds off the pack, Ross fits a large diamond into a portable laser gun, because those are really convenient, and fires to ward off the gorillas, cutting several in half. A volcano begins to erupt, and the remaining searchers escape while the pack of gray gorillas are eaten up by the lava. And realizing all her boss cares about is the diamond, Ross destroys the satellite uplink, throws the diamond away, and escapes with Monroe, Elliott, while Amy goes to live with a pack of mountain gorillas, and credits roll. And that's the quick summary of Congo. There's about 50 minutes there in the middle that I just skipped because nothing that happens there matters at all. So you could watch the first 20 minutes of this and just, scrub on your Netflix till you see something that looks like a cave. Stop, watch the last 15 or 20, and you've got it.
But you're going to miss so many of the classic elements of this movie by doing that.
Classic, you say. We shall get into this. We've had as we teased in the last time, you and I've had a running Facebook debate about Congo since before you were even a part of this podcast.
I think this is what actually got me to be part of this show. This is like, you guys saw me and saw my Congo swag online, and you're like, we got to get this guy involved.
Yeah, and the first thing we did was saddle you with Blair Witch 1 and 2. So
I'll never forgive you for that.
It's taken 4 years to come back to this, but we're now doing a little
full
Congo.
circle.
We really have. The circle is complete now. The training is done. So I kind of, you could sum this up simpler as you mix a little sci-fi with a little gorilla sign language and a little King Solomon's Mines, and you get this turkey. I mean, that's really what this movie is. And I don't know the book, but from what I've read about the book, that's pretty much how the book reads too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like I said, I don't know much about the book. Actually, you know what? After doing this, I actually might go back and read this book just to be able to see what the differences are. Cause my, looking at this through adult eyes, I want to know what the studio had thought when they optioned this book. I can only imagine that this book was actually optioned because of Jurassic Park, where it was like Jurassic Park, Michael Crichton, what else can we pull from it? I know that they already did the Andromeda strain. Was that back in the 80s they did that?
Yeah, that's right.
So I think really as far as like monster Criterion books go, or Crichton books, not Criterion, Crichton books go, is I think it's Jurassic Park and Congo, because I think the other ones, a lot of them don't really have to deal with monsters per se. So I guess I can see on that regard why they picked it, but still I'm very curious to see what the actual meat and potatoes of this book is. So maybe I'll have to do a little follow-up later on that.
That would be interesting to know. I do know one thing that's not in the film that is a part of the book, and that is there's a competing expedition going at the same time as this expedition is. And that's something Crichton does a lot. There's always like 2 ticking clocks or 2 people racing against the ticking clock in his books. He likes to do that. And for economy's sake, I'm sure they decided to cut it down. I mean, look, they spent $50 million on this movie, and in 1995, that's not chump change by any means. And they made their money back off of it. I mean, they got what they wanted out of it exactly. But I think you hit the nail on the head. The reason this got turned into a film is because Jurassic Park had come out and just slayed the box office and changed, everything. And so kind of like when, The Firm was a big hit, every, John Grisham book forever was getting optioned into a movie, and it seemed like forever. The book Congo came out in 1980. So, I mean, he was 15 years old by the time they got to a movie. So I think that's exactly what happened. Somebody started flipping through his book oeuvre and said, we don't want to do it in Andromeda Strain again. Can't do that. Let's do the monkey one. Yeah. And they just kind of went with it. But
no, doing monkeys is cheaper than doing dinosaurs, too. I mean, they've been doing monkey movies for, since Charlton Heston was, before he got all crazy with his guns.
Those damn dirty apes. I mean, yes, they come back again. Or I guess these are gorillas, so I should be paleontological correct. But yeah, Paramount, all involved in this. And this rings true of let's try to cash in on the genre, right? I mean, and that was the thing we talked about in the 90s. It was all about how science could do things we'd never done before, and kind of like the Ian Malcolm character in Jurassic Park, we didn't ask if we should, and Hollywood decided to do that too. And so, yes, we need some science mumbo jumbo adventure movie. And I remember Roger Ebert loving this one though, because he said it was a great jungle adventure, and you just didn't see those anymore. And I said, yeah, there's a reason for that. Nobody cares. And I guess I had a bump up against that, but we'll talk about that as we get into it.
You're not excited for the new Tarzan movie?
I didn't even know there was one, but I'm disappointed just by you telling me about it.
Yeah, I think there's a new Tarzan movie that's coming out, and then of course you got the live action remake of the Jungle Book coming out.
Oh, that's right. That my high school did the Jungle Book as a theater production one year, and it was pretty impressive. And I've never felt the need to see it again. So I'll always think of those people in those roles now. So none of which I actually even talk to anymore. So and are probably not listening to this podcast. So I've just wasted a minute talking about them. But let's get into the movie here, and the start here is great. We meet Karen Ross, our lead, if you will. And what do you make of Laura Linney? I mean, what do you think about her?
More attractive Helen Hunt.
I think you said that last time too. That's not a bad comparison. I thought you were going to jump up off of that. My bad. Whoa, you there?
I'm here. Sorry about I don't know what the hell happened.
No, that's okay. No, I don't think that's a bad comparison. I think that's what you said last time too. And she's all right.
This is leading us up to doing Twister, and I think the next movie we have to do is Twister. I'm just throwing that up there now.
Yeah, I like Laura Linney in The Right Thing. I think that's the trick for me.
I don't even know who she is.
Have you ever seen
movies has she been in?
Have you ever seen Primal Fear with Richard Gere?
No.
Okay, well, we might have to do that someday then. She plays opposite of him in that. She played opposite of him again in The Life of David Gale. No, that was Kevin Spacey, my bad. She's worked with Gere and other things too. I can't remember off the top of my head. She was in, what was the name of that, the movie about the farmer that went west? And hold on a second.
Son-in-Law?
Hold on, I was getting a real weird scratch in there, so let me just kind of redo all of that real quick. I think I fixed that as short, so let me mark the time so I can plug all that.
Yeah, you had asked something about going out west, and I said son-in-law.
Hold on one second. Son-in-law. Don't mention son-in-law again. So, okay.
Son-in-law.
Yeah, well, I mean, on the show. Okay. Laura Linney's been in Primal Fear with Richard Gere. She was in The Truman Show. She played the wife. The actress wife, not the one he was chasing. She's in the Mothman Prophecies. That's another one with Gere. She works with Richard Gere really well.
Richard Gere really well, man.
Hey, I like Gere. Exorcism of Emily Rose. Have you ever seen that? It's one of her better performances. I mean, she's been in a lot of stuff. She's good. She's a good dramatic actress. This is early in her film career. Like, she had done a couple of things before this, and then I didn't really.
Does she always play the no nonsense,
yes,
like executive?
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. She always plays this no nonsense female empowered woman, and it could be an executive. She could be a lawyer. She could be a history professor, but she comes off like a smart woman. Like, you remember I talked about last time that Penelope Ann Miller. Yeah. I bought her as a scientist. I buy Laura Linney as a smart businesswoman. Now, what I have a problem with is when we're then told that she's also Jane Bond. You know, like, she's a total badass too. She can wield guns. She can hit African warlords in the nuts from behind, and they don't know it's coming. I mean, she's like a female Bond almost, and that feels a little forced with her because I just don't buy her as physical. Like, she looks like she's, you know, she could handle herself in a boardroom, but I don't know that she can go out and, you know, traipse through the jungle.
She kind of reminds me of a younger Joan Allen.
That's a good one too. Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe Joan Allen should play the mom of Helen Hunt and her in a movie someday.
They think Helen could play their mom at this point, the way she looks. But you know, anyway, we do meet her in the opening here, though, and we get to meet Jodan Baker. This is one of my favorite character actors. I mean, Buford Pusser. He was the Chief Carlin in Fletch. You know his face if you've seen him. He played in a couple of Bond movies. This guy is hilarious to me, and he is like the most one-note corporate greed guy. I mean, you bought him right out of Central Casting.
Yeah, he's not the dad from Son-in-Law, is he?
He is not the dad from Son-in-Law. So but he looks like that guy, but he is not the dad from Son-in-Law.
Okay, just wanted to get that out there. So good to know. So yeah, I mean, we open up with them. You know, they're doing this transmission over to Africa, and you get to talk to Ash himself, Bruce Campbell, as he's relaying it back and forth, and you find out that Bruce Campbell is this telecommunication mongrel's son, and he's over in some African safari looking for some diamonds. So I didn't know that diamonds are used for telecommunication. Did you? Or maybe that is real. I don't know. All I know is that my iPhone sucks. That's all I know about phones.
I didn't know that either. I've heard about, you know, cooperating diamonds into a lot of other things, but using them as some sort of catalyst for better Wi-Fi signal is just not something I thought they could be used for. Now, again, this may be part of the science that we're missing here. And I'll say this movie does a really poor job of trying to explain any of that. At least in Jurassic Park, they give you enough of an explanation, and they do it in Sphere too, and other Crichton movies. They give you enough of an explanation that you kind of get what it's about, but you know, they don't belabor it too much. But this one, they don't even bother with it.
Yeah, it's very weird, and man, that CGI satellite shot it's bad. I mean,
that does not hold up at all. Yeah, that
looked like something from PlayStation 2 days.
Ooh, oh no, like the single PlayStation, man. That was the gray days. That was not even close. That was bad. That may have rocked the Sega Genesis even. It might go back that far.
I was thinking like something like Jaguar. Remember that system?
Yes. So along those lines. And maybe your Travelcom is that. This is the question I have, though. They want these diamonds because it's going to revolutionize the telecommunications industry in some way?
I suppose. I mean, what's so special? But that's the thing is, like, what's so special about these diamonds? I mean, I know, talk to any woman, talk to my wife. Not all diamonds are the same, but
I guess
I don't know if they don't really put any type of importance upon these diamonds here. I mean, I would have bought this more if this guy was just like some type of person who handles jewelry or something is looking for
like a museum or something.
Yeah, they've heard rumors about these diamond mines out there, and these are all ready to have, and it's the clarity or just something like that. But I guess it's Crichton, so they're trying to add some type of scientific angle to it.
Well, no, this is Crichton. This is Crichton's thing, though, is because you have competing scientific ideals here. That's what this is all about. It's the people that want to try to corrupt nature for their own gain, for financial gain, and then you've got juxtaposed to the primatologist who's used technology to not only teach an ape sign language or a gorilla sign language, which is something that they do and that can be done, but later on she gets like a power glove and it makes voices for her. So, Peter loves Amy and all that stuff. So, and that's now this is a scientist using science for good versus the using science for evil. That's what they're beating you over the head with.
But really is using diamonds to increase humankind's, communication distance, is that really evil? I mean, I can see something like with dinosaurs and bringing them back to, life and everything like that being, evil or, man playing God. But, dude, long distance phone calls back then kind of sucked.
They did. Yeah, they cost a lot of money. No, I get the idea, but it's because one is doing it for the betterment of that ape or from that gorilla, and what he wants to do is take the gorilla out in the wild and then let her interpret for the the humans. This is what they're doing.
I think what you're getting at is something where the purpose of their missions is one's more noble and one's based upon money.
Well, one's for education and advancement. The other is strictly for financial gain. That's what they're playing against. And that's a theme in all of Crichton's stuff, is that there's all this corporate greed, this corporate entity hanging over. I mean, Michael Crichton even did Rising Sun, which was a Sean Connery, Wesley Snipes thing. It's all about Japanese corporations and mystery murder and all this stuff. And it's...
Or does that have to do with the Kaizen thing? Because I had to do that at work, and fuck whoever came up with that shit. Fuck them in the ear.
I don't know that it's exactly Kaizen, but it's along those lines. So, but
at one of my last jobs, they handed out those freaking books about Toyota. I threw that in the freaking fire. Screw that stuff. But anyway, so the whole MacGuffin of this movie is about these diamonds, and essentially that Ash from Evil Dead, he ends up going missing. We get this whole scene there, and I think the beginning of this is actually very well done, because it is a little scary. I mean, even watching it now, maybe scary is not the right words, but maybe tense. But when he's sitting out there and he hears like this smash, and later you find out like that's obviously someone getting their head smashed in. These gorillas got a pretty cool way of disposing of people. And, he screams, and the whole mission's set up basically upon this, what we learned is later going to be kind of a false mission for Karen Ross, who actually is engaged or was married to Bruce Campbell. Basically, he sends her, due to her CIA background, to be able to go rescue him. Now, why he sends her alone? Maybe he's cheap. I don't know, but she's got to go to the African Congo to be able to go track him down with a group of hired guns. So,
right.
That's
she hooks up with Monroe, who we'll get to in a minute, and they're going to go on this expedition. And along the way, though, before we do that, we have to meet Dr. Elliot. Dylan Walsh. Now, I knew he had a career before Nip Tuck and some of the other things he's done since. And I happen to like Dylan Walsh. I thought he was great on that show. I've seen him in other stuff. I mean, he's a fun actor. He's kind of I don't know. He's a poor man's, I don't know who you compare him to. I mean, he's just
he comes off
a good everyman,
He comes off like your wife's friend's husband.
There you go. Yeah, he's that other guy. He's what he is. He's like a dime store Kevin Spacey. That's what he kind of is. Yeah,
he's kind of a drip. He's kind of like, he's kind of whiny, but he plays it in every character. I mean, even if you saw him in Nip Tuck, a show that I find vastly underrated. I love that show. Even on that show, he kind of played the buzzkill guy to Christian Troy, I think, who was the other character in the show, his character. So, but he plays the same thing here, where he's just a complete buzzkill the entire time, very just whiny and everything. And I guess like his entire, point of being here is that he taught Amy the talking gorilla, basically sign language, and they're going to return her to the jungle because they want her to be able to teach these other mountain gorillas sign language as well, so people can communicate with them in the future. Hopefully this is something that's passed down and they're taught language, and they can talk with humans, and we can not just learn stuff more about their cult, their ape-like societies and everything like that. So it's based on fact that you can teach gorillas sign language. The fact that they've come up with something that's not even something we can even come up with now. I mean, now we're looking 20 years later with this essentially Nintendo Power Glove, and how it can actually vocalize the signals with the hand is, oh man, I guess when I was a kid, I didn't think much of it, but even now I'm like, dude, if you guys came up with that, you guys would be freaking billionaires. You know what I mean? That
exactly.
Would, screw apes. Apes. I mean, that would transform, disabilities with people all over the world who can't speak, who have to use sign language. I'm like, screw gorillas, man. I'm like, there's schools around the country that would, universities that pay millions of dollars at this technology.
See, that's what I'm wondering. Like, he's tied to a university, so they would be getting corporate funding somewhere. But that kind of happens because then we get Tim Curry as Homolka.
Oh God, I love him in this movie, man. I don't care what you say. He knows the type of movie this is.
Oh,
and
clearly.
He's just playing it so.
Look,
I'm going to use this word, and this is the only time I'm ever going to use this word ever. He's delicious in this movie. He is. It is just fantastic.
I want to say this about Tim Curry. Tim Curry can be an acquired taste. In the wrong thing, he can be too much, and it just doesn't work. But in the right thing, he knows when he dials it in, he can be perfect. Pennywise in It. This role, I agree. He knows he needs to be a huge ham, and he is one.
He reminds me of? He reminds me of Billy Zane in Titanic. The fact that he's the only one on screen that understands the movie that he's in.
Oh, I completely agree with that. That's an underrated performance, by the way. Billy Zane was really good in that movie. And perfect for what that was. This guy is so cheesy. And I remember sitting, folded arms, 18 years old, watching this going like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. And now watching it again, I go, yeah, he's clearly in on the joke. I also will say Dylan Walsh and Laura Linney seem to be in on it too. There's a scene later where they're all sleeping in the jungle and there's, monkeys mating in the background. And they start doing monkey voices back at each other. And that almost feels improv. Like they just started screwing around. They're like, yeah, we know this is a horrible piece of shit. Who cares? And they clearly got paid good for it. And, everybody made a lot of money on it. So they didn't care. This guy, though, this Homka guy is hilarious because he's supposed to be this billionaire philanthropist. But really all he is a broke treasure hunter who's just getting by on his wits. And he forms the other part of the search party here, and they all end up meeting at the airport, and through some, I don't know, confluence of problems, they end up on the same plane together. Because I think the CIA lady says, "No, you're going to go with us in this plane." Or I know what it is. That's the cover story. Is we're going to get your gorilla back to the region she's from. And that's the cover story for him to go on this treasure hunt.
Yeah, I mean, I guess now that we're kind of speaking about this out loud, that was kind of one of the things that kind of was confusing to me, but I guess makes a little bit more sense now was why did she have to, manipulate her way onto the plane? And now I see, okay, well, they're probably trying to cover up that this expedition went bad and they're trying to do this secretly. So they don't want to make a big thing about it because this is like AT&T technically. And it's like, if an expedition went bad for AT&T with people getting disappeared in the jungle, it'd probably make, it'd be on CNN. So bad publicity. But the whole setup for it is that Tim Curry's character, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that name. I was going to call him Tim Curry. His finances don't come through. Is like he was supposed to be paying money, whether it was something where he wrote a check and they hoped they didn't try to cash it till he was in the midair, something like that. But basically the money wasn't going through and they were going to cancel the expedition. But she came through with her, unlimited, American Express black card here and was able to finance, be able to be like, you need me to be able to pay for this. And, then they're off to Africa.
And this is why I know something, that somewhere in the books, TravelCom is just a subsidiary of Wayne Enterprises. That's how we now know this. So it's because of that unlimited funding. Later on, she pulls out tons of cash to give to Delroy Lindo in a hilarious cameo as an African warlord.
That's why, you skipped over all that in the middle.
Yeah.
All this stuff in Africa is just great.
Well, I skipped over in the plot summary because there's more to talk about here because, let's get into it. When they're flying to Africa, well, first off, I got to ask you about Ernie Hudson. The hunter.
He's great in this as well. He knows the type of movie he is, and he is great. I love the accent, like the.
What is that accent?
It's supposed to be British. And from the little tidbits that I have read about the book, it wasn't supposed to be a British African or a black British born guy in Africa. It wasn't supposed to be like that. It was actually like a white English game hunter. Think of like the the guy from Jumanji or something like that.
Actually, I'll think about the guy that was hunting the raptors in Jurassic Park. That guy.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, exactly. Where he was like a British big game hunter, but they switched it around for this, and I think it works great. I love Ernie Hudson. I love Ernie Hudson. He's a great actor, very underrated. We don't get enough of him, and
I'll say this: his best performance is in a movie called The Hand That Rocks the Cradle. If you've ever seen that, that's a great thriller, by the way, with Rebecca De Mornay and Annabella Sciorri's in that.
Never seen it.
It's a good one, and he's really good in it, playing a mentally challenged sort of guy that works in the town and stuff, but he's still this Hulk of a man. That's the thing about Ernie Hudson is he is freaking huge. I mean, he's probably 6'5", maybe 260 pounds. Looks like a linebacker compared to all these other people, especially Hollywood people, because none of these people are tall. And I mean, He is massive. I guess if he and Bruce Campbell had a scene together, that would have been interesting because Bruce is a big guy. But I mean, and so that's why you buy him. But that accent is so terrible. I mean, it slips in and out constantly. But you know what? I found myself not caring because I thought Kelly was so fun. He was so fun because he was never out of control. Even when like gray gorillas are flying at him, he's just like picking them off like it's no problem. I loved that guy.
Yeah, he's great. And then, I mean, I even love the way he has like the slim cigars he's always smoking.
Yeah, and he shares one with Amy. We got to talk about this. He gives Amy a cigar on the plane while she's drinking a freaking martini. All right, explain to me why a gorilla would even want a martini.
I don't know. I love martinis. I'm actually drinking one right now.
But you are not a gorilla.
Ask my wife. That's a constantly hotly debated argument we have in the house.
Yeah, it is. And it's explained as this helps calm her down. I'm like, you can't give her a Xanax or a Valium, or something. It's funny.
Well, come on, man. With the cost of prescription drugs, it's probably cheaper just to give her a good glass of, vodka with a little vermouth and a little bit of olive juice in there.
Little low shelf, get her some of that stuff. I doubt she's Grey Goosing it at that point. But, who knows though?
Maybe she's an original martini fan there and she likes her gin martinis, maybe something like Beefeater or something.
Yeah, maybe she wants some Bombay, who knows? Or she's got the Tanqueray, who knows? So, but we do need to talk about the Amy suit though, because at no time is this a real gorilla. I kept having flashbacks to 1983's Trading Places, which is a fantastic movie, by the way, still holds up to this day. Even the economics in it still work to this day. The jokes are funny, but the gorillas in those movies look just about as believable as this one. This is bad, right? We can say this creature is really, really lame looking.
She is, and you got to say this about all the gorillas in this movie. I mean, I'm a big gorilla fan, I guess you could say. It's my favorite animal. I think they're spectacular, and every gorilla in this movie looks bad, especially like later in the movie when we come up to the big giant, silverback gorilla, and it doesn't look like a silverback gorilla
at all. Yeah, it's like they spray painted it white. But she looks so big and cuddly, and I know that's the point or whatever. But it takes me out of the movie because even the actors that are doing this clearly don't really know how to. Either the suit's too constrictive or something. They don't get it.
You got to imagine when they showed her the suit. They showed everybody the suit, and they probably went back to their trailers like, "You got to be kidding me."
I think they would have been saying that reading the script anyway. This blue diamonds are now we're doing telecommunications with diamonds, and there's sign language, power gloves, and what the hell accent is that Tim Curry's doing? And I don't know how did that. I'm calling my agent. I'm like, how many zeros are you thinking of that check again? It's cleared, right? We're good. Okay, that's the only way you can continue on because it looks bad and it takes me out of the movie. I will say that now. The Amy part is well nominated as a Razzie because it's a horrible performance by people that don't know what they're doing. And I can go for like a person is an animal performance. Andy Serkis was a fantastic performance when they did that Peter Jackson King Kong epic, which is a way too long movie and completely sappy and sentimental, but he's great as that. He's maybe the only actor in modern era that really understands how to be a creature. These people look like they could barely move in the suit. I don't know if they're mimes or what, but they are awful.
Yeah, but you know what? I can't blame them because that suit's that bad, and it's probably pretty hard to move around with.
It looked cheap.
Is like, it did look cheap, and even when she's drinking the martini, is like, boy, I mean, God, that poor guy in the suit, because they're just pouring water down in that suit.
Well, yeah, I don't know the people that played it. There were two different ones, and I feel for them because I'm sure it wasn't easy to do, but it's a bad performance.
They land in Africa, and essentially that's when they run into Ernie Hudson's character, and they run into Joey Pants, who's some type of liaison who helps out. I don't know who he knows or what he is, but anyways, he's helping them get from airport A to airport B, because apparently there's some type of internal. I mean, I guess it's true to life is that Africa's always in these countries in Africa are always in constant civil war, and essentially the president's limo gets blown up in the airport, and they got to get him out of there to get him onto another airplane. And
yeah, by the way, not the president, the Congo's president.
It's there's 50 presidents in every country there. So, but as they're going from another airport to the other airport, that's when they get picked up by, I believe it's some type of usurper there or whatever, and they get brought in front of the guy with the sesame cake. I forget his actor's name. I've seen him in so many movies.
Delroy Lindo. He's hard to forget. I want to talk about Joey Pants for a minute, though. Let's go back on Joe Pantoliano, okay? He's in this one scene where he's driving the Jeep, right? And he's doing his usual thing. And I'm like, were they next door to the Fugitive set? And he just didn't have anything to do one day. And they were like, hey, man, you want to come over here and just drop some lines and drive a Jeep? Sure. I mean, he's in one scene. That's the problem I have with this, though.
He's in two. He's in two.
He's in two. What's his second scene? Because I don't remember it clearly.
After they pay off the guy with the sesame cake, he shows up afterwards with a bandage on his head, and he kind of makes light saying that, yeah, he got attacked by a couple guys for driving him, in that caravan over there. And then that's the last we see of him. So he does have two scenes. Yeah,
but I understand that there are government tensions in Africa. They talk about that. They set that up. That's not hard to believe. The fact that we take time to have all of that, you could have gone from they were at an airport to then they get picked up by the Delroy Lindo warlord guy. I would have been fine with that. This movie is purposely trying to be more dense than it really needs to be. This could have been an hour and 20 minutes and it would have been fine. I mean, there's 20 minutes of fluff scuffled throughout this entire thing. But now I
wouldn't take any of it away because I find it all so hilarious. Everything in there, it's funny. I mean, you're watching this and it's like almost this middle section is almost a comedy. Especially, I think it's almost like a top 5 scene in this movie is definitely the sesame cake.
Oh look, yeah, you got Delroy Lindo sitting there affecting a bad African accent, which only as bad as the one that he lays out in The Devil's Advocate. If you've ever seen that, he's in about 3 scenes of that movie too, and that's a movie with accents all over the place. We will have to do that one day because Keanu Reeves is not from Florida, and I don't think he's ever been there. But anyway, and neither is Charlize Theron for that matter. But Delroy's doing his bad, affected accent, and you've got Laura Linney sitting there and Ernie Hudson, and Laura Linney keeps slipping Ernie Hudson cash, and Delroy Lindo's like, more, and it's just stacks of hundreds upon hundreds. Meanwhile, Tim Curry's just shoving his mouth full of cake because this guy's insistent, eat some of my cake. And then once he's been paid off, he says, stop eating my cake. No, stop eating it right now. You are a bag of shit. And they just go back and forth, and Tim Curry has to spit the cake out. I realized then what you just said a minute ago is that somewhere along the way, Frank Marshall and everyone involved realized, look, there's some unintentional humor here. Let's try to shoot this like a sitcom. And it comes off like a sitcom or a rom-com in the middle, like without the romance. It's all set up and jokes, and but it's a tonal shift because they opened up with that real tense scene, and now it's just goofy.
It is, but the whole movie after that scene is goofy. Everything is goofy in this movie. Oh yeah, and that's why I just love this movie so much, is because it is. Everything is just so like over the top. You hit it like a sitcom. And, after we get done with that and then they get on the next plane, they actually go over the border from Zaire, is you get essentially they're them getting attacked by the border patrol, I guess we could say, where they're shooting heat. You got to catch this too. Heat-seeking missiles is what they're shooting at this plane. And in order for them to be able to evade these heat-seeking missiles, is they use flare guns. Now, thank God that the missiles were being launched at the side of the airplane that has the door on it, because if it would have been on the other side, they would have been screwed. But they're shooting flare guns, which I don't think this works.
I was going to say now, I do not. I think the idea of let's try that comes off like something out of Airwolf or MacGyver, but I think it would work about as badly too. Now, Laura Linney and Monroe do this together, and this is when you get a little bit more of Linney as, you know, again, she's this Jane Bond. Like, she could do everything. She could shoot the stuff down, and then they realize, hey, we're out of flares, they're going to launch again, and they decide to jump out of a perfectly good airplane. Right?
Well, you gotta love the scene where they both are like right next to each other, and they're both aiming the gun at the like arm next to each other. It is so ridiculous, but it is so awesome.
Well, the look on their faces is like, we really have to play this seriously, right? But it comes off like an SNL skit because it's so badly, you know, shot. I mean, it's clearly a green screen behind them, and it's terrible. It's a terrible set. Like, it's like you're standing on the side shaking the set, Nick. That's the turbulence that they're experiencing.
Well, this is essentially the definition of so bad it's good. It is. I mean, it's just everything there from, you know, giving Amy some somehow they had some gorilla Prozac. I don't know how Prozac would help calm down an ape. Maybe she'd be less depressed, but you know, I think it does take, you know, you got to build up the Prozac in your system. It usually takes about 3 weeks with increased dosages.
Yeah, you can't just take that and be down like a Valium. Yeah, that'd knock you out. But
yeah,
you know.
So they probably should have said gorilla Valiums, which or Xanax or something like that. But they give her that, and then
they had already given her a couple of martinis. What the hell else she need?
I mean, at this point, they should have just gave her a bottle of Grey Goose and just saw her chugging it down in the back of the
That would have been hilarious, by the way, if she just tipped the bottle.
Just imagine something like John Belushi from Animal House just chugging down the bottle of Jack. It's like, yeah, just do that with the bottle of vodka in the back.
That would have been funny.
That's exactly what they should have done. It would have been fun. It would have been a little bit more funner, but they all jump out of the plane. The plane gets destroyed, of course, and they are now in the midst of the jungle, and they decide that the best course of action is that we are going to follow the gorilla to where she wants to go. I mean, I
buy that. I'll buy that only because they got her from that region originally. And this whole thing is built on this idea that her instincts, we can't unlearn her instincts, even though we've taught her communication beyond anything that she's ever known. You know, whatever. When we get her back home, she will know where to go just by nature. You know. And
you know what, Jay? Yeah. I've lived now in North Carolina for a little over a year. I still don't know my way around here.
But so you're not. But no, you're not.
Are you telling me that
though?
This female?
No. Let me follow me here though. Follow me here though. Follow me here though. Okay, I haven't lived in my hometown for 18 years almost. Okay, I can go back there tomorrow and I can take you anywhere you want to go. Still, even though they've changed a lot of it around. I know exactly where I'm going because it's in my head. Now I've lived in the town I live in now for 7 years and I still get lost. Okay. Because I'm not from here. There's something true about that idea of where you're from. It's just ingrained in you. And look, it's a convenient plot device, no doubt. All right. But I can go with it because I think it works. I mean, I can go with as much as anything else they're trying to shove on me here. I mean, this stuff is all bullshit anyway.
Oh, I'm not saying I'm going against it. I'm totally with this movie. I'm just kind of I'm trying to be a little bit more analytical instead of just being like, oh, awesome, they're going to follow this ape into there. I just find it funny that it's like as soon as they get over the border, it's like, yeah, they're in walking distance of this like mystical mine thing that no one else has found.
Yeah, and this is when Kelly calls out Homolka, Tim Curry, on his intentions. He's like, I know why you're here. You're not here to return any gorilla to her hometown. You're here for King Solomon's mines like everybody else. And they talk about that. They call it out exactly as such. And I appreciated that, though. That let me know that Kelly was the one person here besides Ross that knew exactly what everyone's intentions were. Like he had real good sense.
I got to ask you, was King Solomon's Mines, is that based on anything? I mean, I think there was a movie based on King.
Yeah, King Solomon. It's based on the historical king of the Jews. David's son Solomon, who is if you believe that, is said to have been the richest, most powerful person that ever ruled over a kingdom, and he had diamond mines scattered all over the world, particularly in Africa. And he had, at that time, the Hebrews had conquered a large amount of land. And so supposedly when, Jerusalem was destroyed and all that stuff got split up, those diamond mines went in a lot of different places. And so that's the legend of all of it. I mean, part of this is based on a little bit of myth and a little bit of fact, but I mean, the idea that he would have had diamond mines scattered even down to the Congo, I could buy it from Northern Africa. That makes total sense because that's where all that happens.
Okay.
So that's what
I
that's
just wasn't sure.
On.
I mean, I've heard of King Solomon, obviously, but I never heard anything about the mines besides that movie. So, but that's good to know. Again, it's just kind of funny that they just walked into this place.
It is, but we meet the Congo. We meet what I love is we meet the Ghost Tribe or whatever, and like they come out and just start rapping with Ernie Hudson. And they're making fun of him because he's a black man not carrying luggage, he says. And I thought, well, okay, that's funny. I mean, again, they're having a fun time here, but I'm also going like, are we ever going to get to what happened? Like, are we ever going to find out what attacked these people? Because so much else is going on that we have goofy stuff where Amy breaks the receiver and the Skype call from Laura Linney goes bad to Joe Don Baker. So, what was that all about? And then all the winding roads up to the lost city of MacGuffinville. There's a lot. They just trudge through the jungle for like 30 minutes here.
The hippopotamus attack.
Yes. Oh gosh. Yeah, that didn't really work for me either. That was some bad looking effect. I wasn't really impressed.
But those, I do like that they actually have hippopotamuses, though, because they actually are very dangerous animals. And
yes, they are. I
believe statistics show that they actually kill more people in the jungle than even like lions or, predator animals. So
yeah, they're incredibly dangerous. I wouldn't want to be around one. So you get around the hungry hippo is not a fable. That's for real. So yeah, I wouldn't want to get around any of those things. So they'll crush you, man. So, but it seems like we just have to keep upping the ante, though, every time until we get to the big bad in the game.
They're trying to make it a little bit more paced like King Kong at this point, where it's like attack after attack after attack after encounter. I mean, we even get another encounter with the apes that Amy's going to end up running off with at the end of the movie, where we brought them up earlier, the extremely fake-looking apes, where Dylan Walsh runs into the big gray, silverback gorilla, and he's got to stare him down and everything. And of course, you get the little funny moment of "Don't run." He goes, "Yeah, I know. He goes, "I think I read it in a book or something." It's like, well, dude, you're an ape expert. I hope you.
Yeah, I would hope you wrote the book on it. I mean, at this point.
Yeah, exactly.
I love at their ruined camp shelter though that Laura Linney sets up guns like they had in Aliens, and they're about as effective. So,
definitely. But as they continue on in their journey, then they see another airplane gets shot down, and of course that airplane happens to crash land on their journey there. It's right on the path, and it kind of sets up the whole end of the movie where everything's destroyed except for a giant balloon. So
right, yeah, the balloon of convenience, I called that, but we'll come back there because there's lots to happen before then. So I mean, we get an attack with the gray gorilla, and we look around this ruined city, right? And there's all these hieroglyphs that say that the people taught the gray gorillas and they were gray because of the volcanic environment, but they taught them to guard the mine and kill anyone that approached it. Yeah,
they essentially bred gorillas like how we breed dogs. They basically took these gorillas and transformed them into these like vicious, killer junkyard gorillas to basically.
Well, they're bloodthirsty. I mean, every one of these things has looks like a gray skull face, and they're got rancid teeth and they're always clawing and blood's dripping off of them. I mean, they're really over the top. Like this is the problem, is that this movie started out with this little serious premise and then it became really funny and hilarious, and then they tried to turn the switch again. And the problem is once you turn on the funny switch, you can't turn it back off. Like that doesn't work now because the suits are just as bad. And so now it's like if they had killed the gorillas by some unintentional hilarity instead of what they do, it might have worked better. But like if Amy had shorted out her power glove and started shocking everybody, like when Cartman's chip malfunctions and he electrocutes people or something, that would have been funnier than Laura Linney gets a laser gun with a diamond in it.
But when they first get to the city, I mean, you got them where they're exploring the insides, and then Dylan Walsh's assistant, I've seen this guy somewhere before, but
Grant Heslov, he's been in lots of it. He was the other agent aside Tom Arnold and Schwarzenegger in True Lies.
Oh, that's a movie. That's a movie I got to revisit. Yeah, that's probably where I've seen him before. Yeah, but he ends up getting attacked by the gorillas, and he ends up getting a brain thrown at him, which is just freaking hilarious.
I mean, yeah, they're like a Jello mold coming at him too. That was hilarious.
And then he happens just to die. I guess we should just take it he died as a heart attack, because he was a really stringy guy. I mean, the entire time, where he was just always complaining and always freaking out about stuff, and then
like
the worst throws a brain at him.
The guy is like the classic academic that's never actually been in the field he's supposed to be an expert in. Unlike, maybe Dylan Walsh, who's actually been in the jungle, but will admit, hey, I'm not James Bond, but I can't.
He's a more annoying Hudson is essentially what he is.
Yeah, but like Hudson at least could handle himself. This guy's useless. I mean, it's like what he is? He's the lawyer in Jurassic Park that had no business in the park. That's what he is. And so that's what he feels like, at least. I don't know if that's how his character is in the book, but that's really how it feels. So,
but after the attack, we get to the scene that you were talking about with the alien machine guns, and I like that scene though. I think that's pretty cool. And when I go camping, man, do I wish I had that setup. I mean, that is a badass setup of what they had there. They got laser grids going around, submachine guns that are motion censored on there. They got computer screens that do infrared. I mean, that is an awesome setup. And I thought them having like little AC containers there to keep their tents cool was high tech. That is freaking awesome. And I actually, again, I like that scene a lot. I think just even taking out the whole it's bad, it's so bad, it's good. I actually think it's actually a pretty effective scene, and one that I like where it's a tense scene. Again, they're trying to, go against what they were doing in the middle of the movie by making it a light, comedy in a way, and like trying to ump the tension. And I actually, just being serious, I actually really like that scene a lot.
I think the tech is neat, but it brings up a huge question I have, and I don't know that we're ever satisfactorily answering this in this movie, is why would a telecommunications company have this kind of gear? Now, she's an ex-CIA person. You don't get to keep your spy gear. All right? It's not like she walked through the warehouse and said, I'll take one of those and two of those. I mean, why would they have all of this? I needed a dropped line from Joe Don Baker or something talking about this big secret military contract he had under the table, and that's what was really funding all of this. That would have sold me on all of it. I'm like, yes, fine, somebody gave him stuff.
Or maybe a drop line where it's like, yeah, I'm ex-CIA doesn't mean I lost my contacts, where she might be able to. That's what I took it as, where she's probably got a lot of people in the, within the arms industry that she's still, probably sends Christmas cards to. And
maybe she swung through Mexico and saw Linda Hamilton and said, hey, can I borrow some of your stash, before Judgment Day?
But again, we're talking gorillas, all this other stuff. So you got to give the movie that. And I think, again, I like the scene a lot. I think it's pretty cool.
It's cool, but again, in my head, I start going, but wait a minute, that doesn't, and that's when you have to start slapping yourself and
there's a martini drinking ape.
No, that's when I need a martini, so I can just go with it.
And I do not doubt that AT&T can get, automated machine guns. They can get them right now, so I'm not doubting it at all. Have you ever been late on your payment, Jay? Have you ever?
No, I left them a long time ago.
I've been late on my payments before. I've been threatened with machine guns by AT&T, so I'm just going to give it to them.
We'd just like to let everybody know they are not a sponsor of this podcast.
And
anyway,
I'm going to be getting a phone call.
You are, yes. This is why I am with my cell company. But at any rate, so the pack of gorillas appear the next day. Now, this is where Homka starts to collect these large diamonds, and you knew this guy was going to die. I was like, yes, clearly Tim Curry is set up to be ripped to shreds, all right? And I was so disappointed that we didn't get to see more of it. And I know this movie's not supposed to be this hard R, thing or whatever, but I really wanted his death to be gruesome. I mean, he's a character that's built to die. Why can't that be? I want to see Jason rip his head off.
He got his head crushed in. I mean, that's a pretty awful way to go.
I know.
He's sitting there looking face in face with the gorilla, and the thing's just like Mark Henry power slams its fist down onto his head. And, there's like nothing left. I mean, that is like what we've learned about these gorillas is that's how they take out people, is like they just put you on the ground and they just slam their fists into your head. And I think that's it's kind of a cool way to go. I mean, Christ, I mean, WWE needs to take the little bit of initiative and have some of the
WWE WWE's now rated PG instead of PG-13. This is PG-13. This is and I'm one of those people that I will give a PG-13 horror a chance. And I've liked a good number of them through the years that people rail on or whatever. But in this movie, I thought, no, the violence needed to be up. There needed to be something gory here. Cause that's what I wanted to see him quartered, basically. I thought this guy needed to be ripped limb from limb. That's his appropriate death.
I suppose. But anyway, is this whole this big climactic scene here. And of course we have to have, we forgot to mention that there is a ticking clock going on during this entire thing, that the whole basis upon this mission being completed fast is the fact that it's on top of an active volcano.
Yeah, that's about to erupt. Yeah,
of course, that it's going to erupt during this time. So they're within these diamond mines, which is, I guess, is at the base of this volcano. And as these guerrillas are attacking them, which again, why did they go try to find Tim Curry's character?
But I guess they wanted to rescue him. I don't know. I was wondering the same thing. I mean, at that point, they had all realized what a sleazebag he was. I don't know why they left him to die, but I think Amy went after him too.
They brought up all this stuff during the movie about how many of these guys, like within their group, just kept on like taking off. That they were just like, screw this, we're out of there. But like Tim Curry takes off, and they got to go find him. I guess. I don't know. Is this some type of comment on race relations here?
Ooh, I don't think they were going there, but yeah.
It's like they got to go find the rich white guy, but all the
but he's actually not rich. That's guys, the
thing. They don't care about them, but they try to go. And this whole thing, they try to go find him, and then all this, all the guerrillas start attacking him, and they take out all the other guys, and all that's left in the end is. We got the female, we got Dylan Walsh, and then we got Ernie Hudson left, and
Amy. Don't forget Amy. Because she rescues
coming up.
She rescues Dylan Walsh.
Yeah. They're cornered in the back there, and that's when they find out that Bruce Campbell's character is dead.
Yes,
and they are cornered in there, and Dylan Walsh then is grabbed by the gorilla, and they're all surrounding him, and then of course Amy shows up, and they start going. She jumps in, and she's like, "Ugly Jay, go away. Ugly Jay, go away."
Peter, hug Amy. Peter, love Amy. And what I love though what I love about Bruce Campbell's dead character there is he's clutching this huge diamond in his hand, right? And you know what I was flashed back to? If you've ever seen Jaws 3, and the end of that movie, Simon McCorkindale, spoiler alert, gets eaten by the shark, but his arm with a grenade out is stuck in his teeth. How do you remember
all these names, Jay?
Because, man, Manimal was awesome. All right. And so was whatever other show he was in that I used to watch, Dynasty, I forget. But anyway, his arm is stuck in the shark's teeth, and it's the grenade of convenience that Dennis Quaid's able to pull the pin from. And I thought, that's the same thing. They took the Jaws 3 ending.
Now, is it bad, though, that I'm giving this movie just so many conceits?
Yes.
But I find the fact that he's holding a rock that has a diamond in it. She's able to just slam it down, break the rock off of this diamond perfectly, and the diamond is the perfect size for this laser gun that she's been carrying around unannounced, that she happens to put it in there, and I guess it is some type of conductor. I guess it doesn't work without this specific diamond, but she puts it in there, and in order to save Dylan Walsh, Ernie Hudson, Amy the Gorilla, she activates this thing, and it's like this ultimate laser weapon. It's like something out of like Doom, the video game, where it's like it's a BFG basically. And
exactly. She calls it the latest in telecommunications.
Yeah, ha, hilarious. And she just zapping these gorillas, and it's cool. But it's just kind of like, oh boy. I mean, they got the ultimate weapon here, and she's just mowing down these gorillas, just zapping them in half and everything. And of course, right when this happens, the volcano erupts, and we got liquid hot magma coming out.
Worst magma ever, and that includes the bad Anne Hesh, Tommy Lee Jones volcano movie. This is the worst.
Which I like, by the way.
Well, that's a good cheesy guilty pleasure, but this is bad. First off, the slicing of the gorillas in half is awful, and then I mean, at least she plays it off with a joke. That's the only thing I can salvage this with, because if she had stood up and Rambo'd them all down, I would have been like, no way.
But basically, they're able to get out of there before all the lava gets in there, and then the gorillas start pushing each other into there, which is actually pretty funny because these things are just like, oh, we're going to start jumping in, and they all end up getting burned up, and then
one of them does a cannonball into it. For goodness sakes,
that's awesome. That's awesome. But we get the essentially like the Halo ending, or whether, if you ever played the game Halo, it's like almost every game ends with like the station collapsing and you like trying to get out of that. And it's the same thing with these people. It's like the mountains, collapsing in on itself, and elevations are falling and rising, and they are all, trying to jump over these things. Amy saves Dylan Walsh from falling down into it, and they get, I guess, they're able to outrun lava, I guess, which is
amazing.
It's amazing. And
you wish the people in Pompeii had that skill, So
yeah, Jon Snow would be alive right now. So.
We'd know things, yes. But as we know, Jon Snow knows nothing, so therefore he is dead.
He knows nothing about hot air balloons. So they end up getting back to, like, I guess, a safe terrain, and then I guess they were carrying that balloon with them. I mean, yeah, it takes a lot to be able to pump that thing up. I mean,
so you don't just whip it out,
Yeah, so they're able to, set up the baskets, set up everything, start doing it. And why the hell do they have a balloon on the plane? I don't know. But they get it up, and then of course the gorillas that we encountered earlier in the movie come to like investigate what they're doing, and that's when Dylan Walsh realizes that if you truly love something, you must let it go. So he lets Amy go with these gorillas, and she says goodbye, and they end up taking off. But before they end up taking off, and this is like the biggest like WTF moment of the movie, is she's communicating, Ellen Ross is communicating back with the dude from Son-in-Law, and
not the dude from Son-in-Law.
Every dude's a guy. I'm gonna bring this movie up every podcast because I know it annoys you.
No, I haven't had your George Lucas reference yet. I've been waiting on that.
Oh God, I like The Force Awakens, so George Lucas is dead to me now. So, all is forgiven. She talks back to this guy, and she finds out that essentially that the whole mission there was for her to get these diamonds, which she only brought back one, and not to save the son. And in order to get back at him, she sets the laser up on some type of tripod, puts in the coordinates for the satellite dish, and she blows that up in outer space. What type of criminal charges is she going to be in for when she gets back home?
Astronomical amounts of money just went away into one blast. I cannot imagine the billions of dollars that she just sent hurling down into the atmosphere.
I mean, that's got to be some type of like terrorist charge that's going to be happening with her for blowing up a telecommunications satellite.
I mean, like everybody's phones in Chicago just stopped working one day. I mean, that's what happened there. She completely wiped out an entire network. Like that would be catastrophic.
It's, oh my God. I just watched that now, and I guess it's just like with like knowledge of being an adult, and it's like, you better not be going back to the United States. You better be going to like Amsterdam or something right now.
Maybe she's going to go eat some more of Delroy Lindo's sesame cake. Who knows?
It's got to be something. But anyway, she blows up the satellite dish, and then they take off in the hot air balloon, Ernie Hudson, Dylan Walsh, and her. And basically the whole thing is like, oh, where are we going to go? Well, hopefully someplace safe. And I'm like, you guys are going to get rockets launched at you in about 30 seconds.
Yeah, that's not going to last long. That's going to be a short trip because now you don't have any flares to shoot at.
Yeah, you got no flare guns, sweetheart. You guys are screwed. But that's how the movie ends. I mean, we get Amy watching them disappear over the horizon. We get the, of course, what was that band? Like, what was that band in the 90s that was real popular? Enigma? Is that what it was called?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah. With like, it was basically like the massage parlor music, where it's like take like Indian and like African music and turn it into like contemporary music, and you get that music playing over the background as they disappear off into the horizon, and credits roll on this movie.
Yeah, well, look, Laura Linney does get an award for the greatest take this job and shove it moment of the 90s, because that's pretty well, you've ruined a lot of people's lives now with that satellite destruction. But so I guess my question for you, Nick, as we head into final thoughts, recommendations, and popcorn ratings here is, how many martinis is Congo really worth to you?
Oh my God. It's like the most expensive bottle of vodka with some really good blue cheese stuffed olives in there, man. I watch this movie probably twice a year. It's a great movie to watch when you're homesick from work or just, playing hooky. I love this movie. I really do. And I love it for all the wrong reasons. I mean, this is essentially the girl that you meet when you're 21 years old at the bar, and it's the girl you never take home to mom. I mean,
it's a Kardashian.
It is. It's like, you're going to go on some crazy dates, have some crazy nights. But, when your mom's asking about if you're going to meet this girl, you're like, nah, you don't want to see her because you're going to be calling me up the next day going, are you serious? So, I mean, that's what this movie is. And, to get into my rating on it, I give this one a large popcorn. I do. It's fun. It is fun. It is so watchable. I'm not going to deny that it's a very bad movie. It is bad in every regard when you're looking at like what's supposed to be a good movie, but it just transcends badness into just, I'm going to say it again, just being delicious. This movie is. It's just beginning to end, just how the tones change and it doesn't make any sense. The character motivations don't make any sense. The special effects go from being pretty good to just being terrible. It's just all over the place, but I have so much fun with it. It's a solid, large popcorn. It's a movie that you got to know it's so bad it's good, but it's a movie that you're just going to watch and you're just going to be able to laugh at it and have a good time. And in the end, you're not going to sit there and go, man, I just wasted an hour and 40 minutes of my time. You're going to go, you know what? It's like you like going to Burger King and getting like a triple baconator or something like that. It's like, yeah, this was really bad for me, but you know what? I enjoyed my time. So large popcorn for me.
Wow. I cannot join you in that large bucket of popcorn. I will say this is a fun bad movie if you're into bad movies, but it's definitely not something to be watched alone. I think this would be much better with a group of people where you're sitting around and you got, something else out and you got this on and you can have fun, put it on in the background, and laugh at it. I think it's meant to be laughed at in a lot of ways because it's completely preposterous in almost every way. The things that save it are Tim Curry's is awful and fun and being awful, and Ernie Hudson and Dylan Walsh and Laura Linney aren't terrible in it. The ape is terrible, but everything else is pretty fun. It's thin and it's cheesy as all get out, but it's passable. It's definitely not the worst thing I've ever seen, but it's not one I think I would visit a lot. I'll give it a medium popcorn on the strength of, again, like I said in the beginning, if you watch the first 20 minutes of it and then you just sort of ignored everything else, yeah, you're going to miss some stuff, but if you watch the tail end of it, yeah, you'll be satisfied enough to realize, well, I got it. You don't have to put a lot of brain into this one to enjoy it. So it's a medium popcorn, but it's not a bad one. It's one to visit if you're looking for a good bad movie and if you want to see book adaptations gone awry. I mean, that could be its own retrospective in some ways, but it was fun to talk about here as we go into our next chapter of this. And I think we've nailed it. I mean, we talked about, we wanted to do Sphere, but that doesn't really fit the mold here. And plus it's 2 Crichtons in a row. I think we got to go Twister next, Nick. I think it's time to go do some tornadoes with Helen Hunt and Bill Paxton out in the great Midwest.
Oh my God. It's like when you watch Congo and you watch Twister, I mean, these movies make a great double feature, but we'll get more into Twister when we review that. Indeed.
I bet there's probably a pack at Walmart that's got these together. And I'm going to have to go find it because I haven't seen Twister since it came out.
It's going to be like one of those weird like 4-packs where it's going to have like Sphere, Congo, Twister, and then like Almost Maybe or something like that.
No, it'll have Son-in-Law as the other one. That'll be the 4th piece.
Can we please do Son-in-Law?
We'll have to find a way to work that one in somewhere along the way down the line. But as you can tell, folks, we do a lot of variety here on Film Strip. You can find all of it on our website, continuousplaypodcast.com/movies, and see all of our past retrospectives. I mean, we've got Critters, the whole Alien series, yes, including Aliens versus Predator, and those
are like 3-hour podcasts, complete dissection of those movies. So really check those out. And we even did Lord of the Rings too, didn't we?
No, we didn't do Lord of the Rings.
We didn't do Lord of the Rings.
No, we did Harry Potter, though. Anna and I did back in the day, so that's all there. You've got the Batman series. You've got Superman there. You've also got a lot of horror series. We've done Halloween. We've done Hellraiser. Like I said, Critters before.
Terrorvision.
Hellraiser. Yeah. How can we forget Hellraiser 4 Bloodline? And I mean, so because if you've ever seen it, I promise you never will. And so we've done a lot of different stuff there. And the entire Star Wars series. You want to hear people dissecting something? Kurt and I really dissected those 7 films, and you can get all of those for free at our website, of course. Download us on iTunes. Leave us a review if you like the show. We really appreciate it. Catch up with us on social media. Let us know what you think, and we always appreciate your support. Till next time, for Nick, I'm Jay. Thanks for listening to Filmstrip.
Thank you for listening to Filmstrip. You can find more episodes on our website, continuousplaypodcast.com/movies. Please leave us a positive review on iTunes and link up with us on Facebook. The Filmstrip theme music is produced and performed by Frozen Lake 121.